Big Data Hub's Data Sharing and Cyber Infrastructure Working Group meeting. It's wonderful for those of you who can be here in person and for those who get to listen to this and read about it afterward. My name is Florence Hudson. I'm the Executive Director for the Northeast Big Data Innovation Hub, and we have friends from all the hubs here. And we're delighted with our guest presenter today. And before we do that, what we usually do is ask people to introduce themselves. If you could say your name and your institution. I guess I kicked it off. Florence Hudson, Executive Director for the Northeast Big Data Hub. And why don't we have our guest presenter introduce herself, Sandra?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the kind invitation. My name is Sandra Gesing. I'm the Scientific Outreach and DEI Lead at the Discover Partners Institute at the University of Illinois System, and I'm here for the Center of Excellence for Science Gateways.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This will be very exciting. Jim, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Jim Wilkenbush. I direct research computing at the University of Minnesota. And I'm also part of, I guess, the co-chair group that helps to organize these events.
Thank you very much. Eric, can you speak? Are you a place you can speak? Yeah.
Yeah, I can speak. I'm Eric Hall. I'm at Nemours Children's Health. I just started about a month ago as the Chief Research Informatics Officer here.
Oh, which Children's Health?
At Nemours.
Oh, wow. What a great job. Thank you for what you're doing for the kids. Manju, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm Manju and I'm from University of Delaware. I'm a PhD student working on the data science, and I use large data sets.
Wonderful. It's great to have you here. We love when students join us. Robert, could you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Rob Akins. I'm also at Nemours Children's Health in Wilmington, Delaware, and I'm a professor at the University of Delaware, the Data Science Institute. So our group presented many, many moons ago at this meeting, and I've been a routine attendee. Nice to be back.
Excellent. It's great to have you here. And I'm going to mention something that I'm going to want to bring back to this working group that'll be interesting maybe to you all in the hospitals. Nee, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nee Tawai. I'm an assistant professor at Delaware State University with the Department of Sociology and Criminal Justice.
Ooh, very interesting. Do you know Anshul Rege at Temple University?
No, because I'm at Delaware State University.
No, that's okay, but she does criminal justice and data science, so I just thought I'd mention her name.
Oh, okay. No, I do not.
Yeah, she's a good person to know in that space.
Oh.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Well, those were the introductions. And just quickly, I want to mention one of the other things that we do at the Northeast Hub is that I actually lead a global working group with IEEE and Underwriters Laboratories on clinical Internet of Things, data and device interoperability with TIPS, which stands for Trust, Identity, Privacy, Protection, Safety, and Security. So we're going into the ballot phase of the standard, which is really long. But the idea is to make data and device interoperability more secure and the devices more secure to protect the humans and the data. So when that actually makes it and breaks through to be a real life standard, I'll probably want to bring it back to this working group and connect with some of you. Okay, great. Now to the presentation of the day. So Sandra, I have to get here it is. Oh, goody. Sandra Gesing is the Scientific Outreach and DEI Lead at the Discovery Partners Institute at University of Illinois, Chicago. Prior to the position, she was an Associate Research Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at the University of Notre Dame. Before she moved to the US, she was a Research Associate at the University of Edinburgh and at the University of Tübingen, Germany. Additionally, she has perennial experience as a project manager and system developer in industry in the US and Germany. She received her master's in computer science from extramural studies at the Fernuniversität Hagen and her PhD in computer science from the University of Tübingen, Germany. So we're delighted to have you here today. And I don't speak German, so I tried on all of that. So I hope it wasn't too bad. And she's going to be speaking to us today about sgx3, empowering researchers applying data science and cyber infrastructure via science gateways. take it away.
Thank you so much, and the pronunciation was fantastic. You did a great job.
Thank you. One of our steering committee members was at Brown University, and now he's at Tübingen, so I've been learning.
So, I hope you see my slides now in presentation mode, hopefully.
Looks good. Thank you.
So thank you. And only when I give a talk, I'm often, not paying so much attention to the chat. So if you have questions, really just you can interrupt me in between. That is totally fine. So yeah, as you said, I'm talking about sgx3, and so the co-PIs on the project are Maytal Dehaan, Linda Hayden, Claire Sturm, and Mike Sentner. And with that, so when we talk about data science, cyber infrastructure, research computing, we are talking about really increased complexity of today's research questions. So there's a lot of, data we have nowadays we wouldn't even have 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The new hardware, new software, and really also skills required to work with them. And we have also the greater need for openness and reproducibility because it drives policy questions. And if we look at all the cyber infrastructure and the interdisciplinary distributed projects, there's really this need to share data, to share tools, to share simulations, workflows. And we can integrate research with teaching for a better workforce preparation. That means we need end-to-end solutions to support all this, the increased complexity, the openness, the reproducibility, and to give really this access so that everyone can tackle today's challenging science questions, and that leads to science gateways. So yeah, let's look at the landscape. There are lab instruments, and for example, one of the pictures here that is on the hand, it's a small next-gen sequencing machine, and I hold it myself also in the UK on my hand. That just didn't let me out of the lab. And we have web-based agile frameworks, a lot of new developments in the last 20 years. We have these distributed data and computing infrastructure, and it's all connected via high-speed networks on continental, intercontinental, worldwide. And we have research software, and of course the data and compute intensive problems. And in the middle of all these are researchers who are looking at this, and he looks a little bit sad because that is not often their research question for themselves. It's the landscape they have to navigate. And so there is a need for science gateways to make it more accessible and usable, to make the researchers happy researchers. And with that, these are science gateways. So science gateway technologies that developed also in the last 20 years, they are widely used complete frameworks. So you might have heard about HubZero, Galaxy, the Globus Data Portal, TAPIS. And on the other hand, there's, for example, the RESTful APIs and support of multiple programming languages. And then these widely used frameworks, and also Apache Avata, TAPIS again. Or you have existing science gateways with really nice implementation where people reuse the interface implementations like Cypress, or complete packages where it's with the hardware in the background. So what did we learn from the last really 20 years? So approaches should be technology agnostic, so that all the different programming languages, for example, can be integrated, or should use standard APIs and web technologies, or you get them as a complete solution. So these are the ones who get really sustainable, are maintained, are widely used. And community engagement is really key. And what you can see here is over a duration of 1 day, HubZero NanoHub users worldwide, one of the examples for a science gateway. So you can see how much it can spread to use one technology in science gateways. So if we look at the different concepts, so what is really a science gateway? It is a concept about making access to resources, complex resources, data infrastructure, computing infrastructure, more usable, accessible. So there's the usability, there's reproducibility and reusability, because we want to reproduce results. There's interoperability, because we often work with different technologies, especially on the hardware side, software side. There are different libraries, there's different data sources, and also sustainability. And if we look at usability, I really like, for example, this with the user interface. A user interface is like a joke. If you have to explain it, it's not that good. That is what we want, and I'm a fan of Steve Krug's books, Don't Make Me Think and Rocket Surgery Made Easy. It's really about web usability. And the citation, after all, usability really just means that making sure that something works well, and that people are not getting hopelessly frustrated. So it's a little bit, but really that is usability, and that is part of a concept of a science gateway. Then if we look at reproducibility and replicability, so in the last 10 years with the reproducibility crisis, a lot of these concepts were discussed, all these R words, to rerun, to repeat, to replicate, to reproduce or reuse. And I like really also the definition that reproducibility really means obtaining consistent computational results. And that means, of course, that it's not always the same if we go into statistical data, but and you have these different concepts to repeat, for example, a job, or you want to exchange results. And so the Science Gateway, it really, since you share in a web solution your results, your simulations, you can reproduce also often than the results if you're in the same space. And I like the reusability, especially because we don't want to reinvent the wheel every time we do something, but we want to reuse and make it easier. So the key to productivity is reusability. The easiest way to produce code is obviously to have it already. So Bourne said that in 92, and I think everyone agrees to that. So the interoperability is also really a big topic for software solutions and data solutions. So, and I really like the definition from the IEEE Standard Computer Dictionary: the ability of two or more systems or components to exchange information and to use the information that has been exchanged. That it's really, that it builds the bridges between systems. And sustainability, we still want to be able to use the software we create today in 5 years, in 10 years, maybe most probably in another version, but that you can really use it today and will be still available and continue to be improved and supported in the future. So that is about software sustainability. And a lot of you, since this is a data science working group, of course, I've heard about the FAIR principles. So the findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. That is also really a big piece of the Science Gateway concept idea. That is, the simulations you use, that they're findable, accessible, that you can interoperate in a space with your project, maybe with an open access, with a community that is interested from all over the world. You want to make things reusable in a Science Gateway. So FAIR is part of the concept really of Science Gateways. And also there's a FAIR for Research software paper that looked at the specific not only of data, but of research software. And that also blends into with Science Gateways, because Science Gateways are computational software solutions. And so they're a little bit more defined than just research software, but the FAIR principles for research software are a good start for defining FAIR also for Science Gateways. So FAIR for Science Gateways has several levels. So Science Gateways themselves are software frameworks. So you could treat them like like research software, but then there are in Science Gateways the research objects, because that is the goal of Science Gateway, to share data, workflows, simulation tools. So they might share services. They have maybe APIs. So it's all playing into it, and the definition for making this really fair needs the next steps. So if you look at a typical life cycle of a Science Gateway project, so you start with an initial idea and the funding, and then gateway planning and the design, and it ramps up, and hopefully you have long active operations, you can build a big community. Then the funding ends, and you start to gather requirement from the community again, and then you get additional funding, or you might have to ramp down. And that is where the Science Gateways Community Institute comes in. So Science Gateways Community, SGCI, that started 7 years ago. The official funding just ended in July. It has this 5 areas of extended developer support. I'm talking about this here because it goes into the Center of Excellence for Services. So just to explain this. So extended developer support was up to 1 year of developer support you could get from SGCI for your projects. The Scientific Software Collaborative is a catalog of all technologies, a lot of technology, over 600 we have at the moment in the catalog, which are connected to Science Gateway. We have community engagement and exchange, like an annual conference. I will talk more about that later. And the workforce development component with really student opportunities and to offer more support for stable career paths. And the incubator was diverse expertise on demand, like about sustainability, like having a focus week. So it was really, out of these 3 areas, it was part of education and training, networking and community, and support for building and running gateways, like usability design, operation and sustainability advice, cybersecurity consulting, and I talked about the catalog of gateways and software a little bit. So with sgx3, so we got sgx3 funded last year in September. So this is for 5 years now a Center of Excellence. And we looked at our concept and what the community needs. And yes, we have a community engagement, of course, again, with conference series. We have a kind of a Gateway Central catalog. We continue this, but Gateway Central helps, even with concepts, involves more the community to work with the software. We have technical consultancy, usability consultancy, student programs, faculty training. So it's really, and one of the new parts we have also are the blueprint factories. With the blueprint factories, we look into the future, what is really needed, what is needed in the Science Gateway community to keep the solution sustainable. What are ideas? Because if we build now something, then it's maybe needed in 10 years when we start with it. We need now to understand, to have really solutions ready for new technologies in 5 to 10 years. So that is the idea, to find out with blueprint factories. These are 18 months projects, and to show what kind of technologies to develop, what kind of aspects like sustainability to consider. So really envisioning the future, that is the idea. So if we look at the comparison between SGX3 and SGCI, so we will continue with some of the services with SGCI, but it has to be then client funded since our official federal funding has ended. But with the Center of Excellence, we can still also offer really nice services like the usability evaluation and design engagement, up to 3 calendar months. We can do a technology evaluation. We can help with architecture design if you start with a Science Gateway project. We have summer faculty and student internship. We have a focus week that gives sustainability sessions. I will talk a little bit more later about that. We have summer coding institutes for students. It was this year we had 5 students that were really gifted and had fantastic projects. We have Science Gateway hackathons. So if you want to be a mentor for faculty that starts to work with HPC and maybe Science Gateways, so it's this mixture out of both. We are happy until the 15th. You can sign up to be a mentor for faculty. We have a young professionals program, and this is a mistake on the slide. We are calling it now Rising Stars because it's not about the age of the professionals. It's about rising stars in the community. So the Gateways Conference is coming on October 30th for 3 days in Pittsburgh. We have excellent keynote speakers, presentation panels, demos, bring your own portals and poster. We have a Rising Stars event with a mentalist. There will be a new Science Gateway framework launched, the One Science Place. And since we are this year over Halloween, we'll have bags to pack the sweets on Halloween. So we celebrate also Halloween. And so this is a little bit the timeline. So bring your own portal. We just decided because we still got questions. We have already 15 submissions, bring your own portal and showing technologies. And we got more questions that people could do it more ad hoc. So we accept still ad hoc submissions a bit up to a week before the conference. And we have a faculty hack at Gateways. So it starts, that is where we need also, where I encourage people to sign up as mentors. So it's in the 2 weeks before the conference. There is for 4 or 5 days is 1-hour meetings with mentors, and then these are virtual sessions. The mentors help some faculty who have no experience in HPC or Science Gateways to help them with providing data, providing projects, and then they will present the project they created in the week before the conference at the poster session at Gateways. And mentors are encouraged also to come to the conference, but they don't need to. So we have sgx3 on the road. That is one of the areas I'm leading. So because we want to encourage really also to domain researchers that they work with Science Gateways. Often they haven't heard about it, and Science Gateways they might have heard about research portals. Sometimes it's more about the wording, and we are happy also to use other wording because it's about the concept and solutions. So with sgx3 on the road, we go to domain researchers and at conferences, or we give webinars, or we did a podcast at RDA about FAIR for virtual research environments, so which means also for Science Gateways. We give talks at workshops. One was in Germany, the international workshop on Science Gateways. So this event is sgx3 on the road. I give a talk to people who are interested in looking into data science and working with domain researchers. Then we have a group of Gateway ambassadors. That is really members of a professional community. So peers who can learn from each other, to share information, to meet with other individuals, to host awareness sessions, and also really bring, at the moment, our group has from different areas, from humanities, from technologies, from social sciences. It's a really mixed group, which is fantastic for the ambassadors to reach different communities. And also here, I invite you, we meet once a month to discuss solutions and write papers. And so, and I like this strip about it. We like to bring together people from radically different fields and wait for the friction to produce heat, light, and magic. Sometimes it takes a while. So we offer the focus week. So it's around really sustainability training to look at your projects. So we invite projects teams with at least 2 people that they can exchange ideas. And we do a napkin drawing. We talk about that you understand your audience for your project and the key stakeholders, and mapping the environment. Your partners, maybe you can work together in the environment, or also the competitors to find your own niche, to talk about marketing tactics and to goal setting, value proposition. And we have a shorter form of it. So the next jumpstart is next week. So that is online for 3 days and 3 hours per day. And I know that today was the deadline to sign up. So if you have more questions, I'm sure I can still bring you into the Jumpstart short form of Focus Week that you can get an impression. So with SGCI and also continuing with the Center of Excellence now, we have supported over 200 projects. And if you are interested in hearing more and reading more about them, we published a storybook. It's also reachable on our website. And it has over 50 stories in there. So we interviewed our partners and our clients, how we were, how we helped them to be more successful with their project. And I chose 2 examples here. The IPT Gateway is really about, coding, bringing community together and having an interactive parallelization tool gateway. So that is the idea. And you can read this story with what we did for them. And I chose this one because I think for this community working group, this is one of the interesting ones. We have also we helped Cloud launch, and and what we did, so they got a developer from us, and they could really set their expectation and work with the developer to set up the project. So if you're interested in more of these stories, the URL is here. I'm happy to point you to that. And with that, thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions.
It was great. Thank you, Sandra. You don't get the claps on the Zoom thing anymore. We should. So are there any questions for Sandra or comments or ideas? Okay, I have one. So Michael at UCSD SDSC was like leading the prior award, right?
So he's leading also this one.
Okay, good. So I just looked him up and it has these initials on his LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure. So is he the PI on the project, or are you the PI?
Yes. No, he's the PI.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
I listed our names just alphabetically and me just at the beginning because I'm the speaker. That is why.
Oh yeah, that's great. No, I was just wondering because I remember when he and I talked about this a number of years ago, the prior version of it, when I worked for Trusted CI at IU. Very interesting. So I have one comment. So one of the projects that we lead at the Northeast Hub, working with all the big data hubs, is the COVID Information Commons. And as you were talking, I was thinking, it's kind of a science gateway. Like
It is.
It is.
Yes,
right?
it is. So I know a lot of COVID data also, for example, a lot of people say now dashboards. Dashboard is a science gateway. So I would not put a simple website, like just a website in a science gateway. But as soon, for example, also at DPI, we developed a dashboard. I would call it a science gateway because we feed every night new data in. Users cannot really interact directly with it, but we have data streams in the background with our laboratory information management system and all these things. So I think that this is a science gateway when it's that dynamic to create content.
I think so too. So that is so cool. I didn't know that until you presented, or I hadn't thought of it. I didn't put the two, pieces together. So on that note, I'm wondering, because today I'm writing some slides for the cybersecurity transition to practice workshop that University of South Alabama is running next week, and I'm presenting there. And one of the practices I'm sharing is what we've done with the COVID Information Commons, because we've brought together, we update it monthly with NSF and NIH APIs, and we put in anything that's related, has SARS-CoV-2, COVID in it, whatever. And we have over 10,000 awards in there now, and thousands and thousands of researchers. And we do lightning talk webinars, and we do working groups for collaboration. We do student paper challenges. And I'm just thinking I could probably learn from the other science gateways, the types of activities they do, from the portal perspective, the presentation of the content, to the collaboration perspective, to the student engagement perspective. So as part of this effort, do you do like a webinar to share best practices or something like that, or practices anyway? If we might not know if they're best or not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what we're doing, and we could maybe learn from each other.
Absolutely. I love that idea. I mean, yes, I'm a fan also to say good practices, because in 2 years, maybe best practices is not best practices anymore. And so good practices. We are sharing, we are starting a webinar series again. We had at SGCI, we ramped it down for, I think, a little bit over a year now, not when we first did not know how we exactly structure the Center of Excellence. But so we will start this in September. We will announce it next week. We will have one of, for example, practices around reproducibility. So we want to address several topics, and also especially around FAIR. And I would love to see also your content. And also we have the internships for students. If you have students who are, maybe interested in, because it's like an 8-week student internship at Tech, and they get real projects and integrated there and have their first experiences. So I'm happy to share more information there.
I would love to see that. If you want to send it,
Absolutely.
we can send it to everybody. Maria, what's the best way for us to share this around her other content and information?
We can send a follow-up email to all the guests that were invited to this meeting. Does that sound like a good idea?
That sounds great. Yeah, with maybe like a call to action, Sandra, like if you'd like to participate in NISI, that would be great.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, so send it to Maria or me or whatever. We'll make sure we share, but she'll be in charge. Thank you, Maria.
And we'll be having Chris back on the 18th, by the way. So he should be back by next meeting.
Oh, with the baby or just alone?
I wish it was just with the baby. I think he's gonna be working from home, but he will be most likely moderating the next meeting. This is kind of a random fact, but this is actually my last week at Renzi. I will be moving to work with the Department of Pediatrics at UNC.
Oh, how exciting. Wow, everybody's getting involved with babies and medicine. How cool is it? Children's Hospital, we have peds. Oh my gosh, and Chris is going to bring his own. We'll probably get a cameo appearance from his baby. Well, thank you, Maria, for helping us. I didn't let you introduce yourself. That was my bad. I'm sorry. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, no, you're totally good. No worries. I'm just Maria Carvajal, and I work at the Renaissance Computing Institute. My background is in psychology and cognitive science. But yeah, thank you so much for having me today. And the talk was amazing. It was super interesting to hear about your work. Thank you.
Thank you for your help in babysitting me and sending me all that stuff. I really appreciate it.
No, of course.
Very nice. Yeah, so Sandra, I think there's some really interesting ideas here. I'd love to learn from some of the other gateways. I really hadn't thought of it until you said it. And I was like, wait a second, we have like 10,000 things in here. And one of the things we're doing too, I just want to share, is that we have a part-time contracted system architect to help us, and we have Columbia IT kind of hosting it. But one of the things that we're doing for posterity, because like you said, so where are you going to be in 7 years, right? Is that we're looking to create a snapshot of our content and put it into Dryad.
Okay. So Dryad also, yeah. I list that also when it comes to science gateways as part of the ecosystem. Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, we have, for example, maybe it's just really filling out. I will send that with the material.
She froze for a second.
Analytics, what you need maybe to do this. Frozen maybe.
Oh, I think you're back. You were frozen for a couple of seconds.
Okay, yeah. I just asked you, am I frozen? That's
Couldn't hear
So I wanted to say we have services to help with the design, to talk the design through. We don't have the up to a year developer time anymore. Center of Excellence is a little bit differently structured, and NSF tries to achieve a different service there. So, but we can help really talking through what maybe is the gaps analytics, what should be integrated, what would be good for the design, and what might be already there that you can use for that.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I'd love to have just let me know what you think would be appropriate. I'd be happy to have a follow-on conversation and kind of show you what we have, what we're doing. Because we're funded for like 2 more years. So, the people who think COVID's over, we're like, yeah, I guess again, bring your mask. So,
Yeah.
and then obviously, one of the things I'm actually thinking about, and I published with Springer, I've done a couple of books in the Women in Engineering and Science series on this tips framework I talked about. And so what I'm thinking about is inviting the researchers, NSF and NIH funded researchers that we have in our COVID Info Commons to actually participate in a book series and to have them in like a short, pithy way. Maybe what was the goal of your research? What was the outcome of your research? And what are your recommendations for future pandemics? Because when I started doing this COVID stuff, I looked like, I was Googling it and I found an award for the second biannual cybersecurity workshop, like in 1986. I was like, what? Funded by, like, why don't you tell us about these things, right? What did you learn, right? And I figured out who the PI was, but he's retired. He moved back to Korea. I couldn't get any information. I did find a book with some of the proceedings at Springer. And I feel like it's our responsibility to document this stuff. So in the future, when is it another 100 years? When it's the 2118 pandemic, and people are looking for what did they learn, I think that would be very valuable. So that's one of the follow-on things we're thinking about. I have to work through, NSF and Columbia, because usually I just do the books like it's mine, leave me alone. But now that it's all part of this award and everything, I have to figure out what that means. But that's one of the things we're thinking about as we look at how can we leverage all this information and help other people use it longitudinally, right?
This is exciting, and I would love to be also involved in that because we have contracts with IDPH and CDPH and maybe involving the Department of Health on what their recommendations were. And because a lot of the dashboards are also working with the Department of Health, how much you can really show, because, for example, our take on it was, so we have also the COVID dashboard, not one of the COVID dashboards at DPI. And it's directly collaboration with IDPH, and they were very clear. They're like, don't give health advice. You just give information because the health advice comes from us. But because sometimes people come back to us because of the dashboard, like, oh, what do you recommend? And it's directly the reaction is, oh, for the recommendation, you go to the health departments. But if we could get them also to write what they, learned from this COVID phase, as an extension to what the researchers learned, I think that would be great also for the book series.
Yeah, So, I'm just kind of getting it started, and, Spring, my publisher sent me, the template. I'm like, okay, let me figure it out. I have one of the researchers that goes, ooh, I'd like to do. I'm like, okay, great. Why don't you write like what you would like to see in the book? Like, just keep it short, a page or two, because if we have 10,000 of these things, we have to kind of think little, and maybe it would be a series, but I'll see if I can get anybody to do it with us. But I think it would be cool. And then we could look at maybe state level or international, or I don't know what we would do. But I really feel like it's our responsibility with this FAIR thing, FAIR. It's like, how long will it be fair? How long will it be findable, accessible, interoperable? How long? Just now, right? And I'm like, well, no, I think it should be forever if possible. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I love that. I would be love to be.
Okay, great. Well, let's keep in touch.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, well, I've asked all these questions. That wasn't fair. Is there anyone else who has any questions or comments or insights or inklings or anything?
No, just Florence, thanks for those questions. I think that sort of reflected some of those that I had, but also thanks, Sandra, just for bringing this together. This is really valuable information, and it's also now part of our archive. So you'll find that actually a lot of people will be referencing this information over time. And so the audience is larger than what you see here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and then we all communicate too. So we're all little megaphones. So, and as we work together, we deal with thousands of researchers through the KIC. So it'll be interesting what we're able to teach them about science gateways. And we might actually find, that some of them, they probably have, some of them do have science gateways. I don't know that they call them that though.
We did recognize over the years, especially also in social sciences and also humanities, since there's a science in there, people are like, oh, that is not for me. And so we do know that the naming is a kind of, it coins a little bit sometimes. Therefore, when I go to humanities, I never start with science gateways.
Right.
I call them research portals, virtual research environments. But we call it science gateways because it was coined by NSF, and it's part of the NSF landscape to call it science gateways. And they told us we get the funding for an NSF Center of Excellence for Science Gateways. We cannot call it differently there.
That's what you're going to call it. Because I have, what we do in the COVID Info Commons is we actually create little PI profile pages, and then we ask them to give us their ORCID and links to their project websites. And so, like, I'm just thinking of one of them right now, Dominique Duncan at USC, who's NSF and NIH funded. And she has something called COVID-ARC, a COVID-19 data archive, which you would probably call a science gateway.
Yeah, probably.
We don't call it that, or she doesn't call it that. Very interesting, right? And so then the way we do it is that everything that we do is open and findable and everything. When they give us a website link and people go there, then they worry about the firewall of what people can see and can't see. I don't worry about that because that's way too many things for us to try to keep updated. So we just say, give us the link, then you worry about what happens at the other end. And so we find that to be much more palatable for everybody, I think.
Yeah, we have done something similar for the catalog. We asked really the ones who offering the product, the science gateways, framework. Give us your URL, and they can write a little bit blurb, and they can tag with several things, so that it's, for example, oh, this is one from social sciences, this is one from physics, this is, it's used for biology. And so a lot of them also a generic framework, so they can put in, oh yeah, we are interdisciplinary and we have examples from all these domains. So there are a couple of things. So we do it with tagging a little bit then, and that there's one contact, because people can search then for the tag, for example, because we have over 600 products in there, when you start, that looks overwhelming.
Oh,
So yeah, so there's a certain sorting that it says, okay, you can look, for example, oh, I'm in malaria research. Do you have something in malaria research? And then you find probably 2 or 3 who really do malaria research. And you find some who say, yeah, if you want to build it, you could use these frameworks.
very interesting. Yeah. So in the KIC, we call the COVID Info Commons the KIC. There are actually 141 NSF and NIH awards that actually mention malaria.
Here you go.
It's like this, cross-functional thingamajiggy. Let me see if I can share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the COVID Info Commons, which now I realize is a science gateway. And so we created in 2020, and then we got an extension award in 2021 to add the NIH awards and to keep expanding it. So we have this like COVID awards and PI database. And so you could go in here. And so we have over 10,000 awards now. So I was mentioning Dominique Duncan. Oh, here she is. And so COVID ARC, which is this archive thing. So here's her PI profile. So here's her email, her ORCID. This is a lightning talk she did on a KIC webinar. And then here's her website. And it brings you here, which is another science gateway. So interestingly, it's almost like a network of science gateways in a way.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And then we provide this Research Explorer machine learning maps clustering tool that will go against the current corpus, and we update it monthly with the NSF and NIH APIs when they're working. No, they usually are working. And yeah, this is up to 13 seconds now. It's taking on 15. We have more things. And so this gives you like this faceted search and then creates visual clusters. And then you could go in here, like I said, malaria, just saying, and then you can actually do a subset like epidemiology. There are like 78 documents in scope in here that say something about malaria. And then you can look at this either. Here is by institute. I love looking at institution because that's usually how I categorize people in my head. He's at USC, she's at UW, blah, blah. But you could go in here and actually show the PI. So let's say you see University of Michigan, you're thinking, gosh, who is that? Oh, it's Youngkun, oh, how interesting. Where is Erin now? And then you could look and go back. And so it lets you look at different facets of things. So those are just a couple of the tools that we provide, but it really is like a science gateway.
And I love the demonstration with that you can click through it, and it's definitely, yeah, we will exchange the information because I would like to show that the lead of our Gateway Central, because we are creating a new look and feel for it. And that is really, it looks really cool. I think we can get maybe some ideas for our catalog from that, because I love this interaction. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to share. And that would be even, I'm always into broader impact. How do we make it even broader? So I'd love to. And oh, Maria, thank you for saying something nice. That's so nice of you. So here's my, you can't remember it email address, so nobody can find me. Columbia's trying to protect us. FH2417. Very easy to remember. It's not my birthday or anything. So it's very cybersecurity oriented because it doesn't mean anything, the numbers. So so that's my email address. And if you want to give me yours, then I can email you a link to the KIC, and then we can go from there. Okay, great. Well, this was a lot of fun. Who knew? You see, this is what research and researcher discovery is all about.
This is, yeah, thank you very much for inviting us. And so I know the invitation went to Meta, but she couldn't have time today, and so I was jumping in.
This is wonderful. Thank you, Sandra.